AstraZeneca this week, but there will be a shortfall of over 400,000 to complete a second round. A story captured on page 11. We'll be looking at this and what it means to numerous Kenyans who had gotten the first dose and were worried that might not get the second one, and also the coming in of the likes of Johnson & Johnson and how then they will come in handy to assist very many Kenyans at this point when we are all advised to take advantage of the vaccines. On page 10, and of course on the front page also, 94,275 students get the degree courses they selected. That we have touched on in regards to matters education. Reshuffle for appeal court judges, and a story captured on the back page of the Daily Nation. CJ Koome now reshuffles judges in Court of Appeal. 9 of the judges who have been posted to Nairobi are full-time judges with no extra duties, and so we'll be looking at all this also, and then what it would mean, especially at this point when there needs to be a deliberation on the BBI change. 14 will be stationed in Nairobi and might be involved in the BBI appeal, and so we wait to see then what plays out. This even as the Mau eviction case starts to be heard for 5 days. And a 5-day hearing at the Masai Mau forest evictions kicked off yesterday. That is at the Narok Law Courts, with a ballooning number of group ranches, validity of the title deeds and the forest cut line taking center stage. So we'll be looking at all this. And it's a conversation that is worth, especially at this point when we are headed for an election. Remember, on numerous occasions, there have been allegations that politicians take advantage of the Mau forest eviction conversations to woo voters in the name of "we will support you, we'll ensure that we end this stalemate or this animosity that is here to have the government protecting you." So we'll be looking at all this just to see whether it is going to be the case and what then they will deliberate on this particular case. That is, of course, as captured on the back page, and a couple of other stories. Curtains falls for former spy chief who battled Moi. Business partners fell out in 1982. That is following an attempt coup. May his soul rest in eternal peace. That is a story as captured on page 3. And getting into a different page altogether just to see what other story. No allowances for members of parliament. We've already touched on that. Ruto in talks with some NASA chiefs. That is a claim by Mombasa Governor Dari Ali Hassan Joho. Inside Aisha Jumwa's dream team, it is going to be interesting to watch Malindi Member of Parliament set her eyes on top county seat in next year's elections. This is the gubernatorial position. A close ally of Deputy President William Ruto, the Malindi Member of Parliament, has declared interest in taking over Kilifi gubernatorial position. And so we'll be looking to see what then will be her strategy and how successful she's likely to be. This also as other key individuals have registered their interest on the same. And so we leave the papers at that for now as we briefly look at what is happening. Let's see whether there's much that we can see on the roads this morning. I don't know whether we get some clarity on the position there, but even as we try to get a hold of that, first let's pick what it is that my team has worked on, and then I'll be here to update you in the event that there's something alarming on the roads. And the country has received about 358,000 doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine from Denmark. The consignment arrived at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport yesterday night, and the doses arrived in the country just days after concerns were raised over the shortage of the COVID-19 vaccine in the country. The Ministry of Health says that at least 1.18 million people have been vaccinated so far, with more than 192,000 having received the second doses.
Fellow Kenyans, that let us continue to adhere to the protocols. COVID is still with us. COVID is causing severe sickness amongst our people. COVID is causing death in very many of our people. So really, the vaccination is just an intervention which we will fully realize its benefit when we have achieved the herd immunity, which is about 30% of our population. So having said that, allow me to invite Maniza from UNICEF to also just make a few remarks on this wonderful day when Kenya receives vaccines that it really needed at this time.
Thank you, and good evening to everybody. Again, it's wonderful to join the Ministry of Health, the Government of Kenya on this very special day. As you all know, this is a time for global solidarity, and we really want to join the Government of Kenya in thanking the Government of Denmark for this donation of additional vaccines. UNICEF is a partner to the Government of Kenya together with WHO, Gotv and SEPI as part of COVAX to really support countries in bringing vaccines into the country. So we're really glad to have supported the logistics and transport of these vaccines into Kenya. And importantly, we continue to also support the vaccination through correct communication, through cold change, infrastructure improvements, and just community engagement. It's really important. So we're really delighted to be part of this journey and want to commend the Government of Kenya about the fantastic job they've done so far in terms of COVID vaccination. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'd now like to invite Dr. Rudy from the WHO.
Good evening all, and we too are really delighted to be part of this celebration here, and we thank the Danish government for the donation to Kenya. It truly comes at an opportune time when Kenya has been very good in actually using the vaccines that are allocated to it. I think at this stage I'd also, on behalf of the COVAX facility, WHO, UNICEF and the other partners, ask the other governments of the world to follow the Danish example.
Well, this happening at a time the Ministry of Health has warned of another surge in COVID-19 cases sweeping across the country following an increase in the number of infections in the 13 counties, Nyanza counties, that have been declared COVID-19 hotspots. Now, the national government now wants all the 13 county governments to increase their hospital bed capacity as well as oxygen levels. This as Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i extends the mandate of the Interfaith Council to 31st December to help in the fight against COVID-19, as Musa Salah tells us.
4 days since the Ministry of Health mapped out 13 Nyanza counties as hotspot zones for the Indian Delta variant of the coronavirus disease to curb the spread of the deadly virus, the variant has proven difficult to control.
We've been able to deep dive into the 13 counties, and I can tell you that right now the situation remains one that is critical in the 13 counties. When we look at the numbers in the 13 counties, particularly comparing them with the 47 counties in the country, one key thing that is worrying us is that the attack rate, which is a measure of the new cases within these counties, has almost gone up 15-fold in these counties. And so really we need to pay attention to all the adherent measures that have been set, along with all the restrictions that we've been able to release in the past 1 week.
The COVID-19 Delta variant was first reported in India and is alleged to have been flown into the country through 4 foreign carriers stationed at the Kibble sugar factory. According to health experts, the variant could prove fatal for Kenya's fragile healthcare system. The national government, although elusive in its warnings, has asked the 13 counties to increase their hospital bed capacities and oxygen stocks in hospitals to combat the anticipated surge in COVID-19 cases in the region.
We have not been here before. It's a fact of life. We have not been here before. And there's no way we would have prepared ourselves enough to live in a new reality where we are dealing with a pandemic that seems ferocious, surges every day. When we feel or think that we have turned the corner, a new development comes up, a new variant comes up, which sends all of us scampering around.
And what is of concern and of importance, and particularly to those who reside in those 13 counties, is that we have been able to pick out cases of the Delta virus, and it is important for us to ensure that we really adhere to these measures because we want to prevent community transmission. We are working with all the county governments to ensure that we get the requisite surge capacity for isolation beds. We've also coupled this with oxygen. We are aware there are certain challenges when it comes to oxygen, and we are working to ensure that, we have stocks available for this.
The overall positivity rate in the country stands at 8.2%. 218 more people tested for COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. 261 others have recovered, totaling the number of recoveries to 122,965, as 5 others succumbed to the virus.
When we look at our positivity rates, as at yesterday, in the country, we were at about 8.2%. And I'm aware by now we are all sure and, have understood that 8.2% is still a worrying metric when it comes to the positivity rate for COVID-19.
The Interfaith Council has lamented over police harassment when enforcing the COVID-19 rules in places of worship, and to award the council for its cooperation, Interior CS Matiang'i has asked officers to use less force in implementing the COVID-19 guidelines, further announcing the extension of the council's mandate to the end of this year to help combat the virus.
We take reconnaissance to many reactions and feelings of many religious leaders, especially in this area, in this region, due to the necessary measures of restriction that were given and issued by the government during this time.
Our people are not criminals merely because they either have made a mistake or they have forgotten to do something. This is a tough time, and let's not make it worse by being unduly abrasive in the manner in which we deal with our people.
Musa Salah, TV 47.
The same breath, police officers in Busia County barred a group of mourners from accessing a homestead in Luanya area to attend a funeral service, and the angry mourners claim they had traveled from far to come pay their last respect to their loved one. Police officers, however, informed them that they were there to ensure the COVID-19 containment measures were adhered to, as Sharon Baranga tells us.
Outside the late Dennis Afandi's homestead in Luanya, Busia County, is a group of angry mourners who have been blocked by police officers from taking part in the funeral service. Among the mourners are relatives, friends, and members of his church. Some of the mourners claimed they traveled a long distance to come bid farewell to their kin. The gate remained closed, with the police officers manning it to ensure only the recommended number of mourners attend the funeral service.
Dennis tulikuwa tumempenda, alikuwa anakuja matanga ya kila mtu mdogo. Kwa nini wanatuzuia sisi kuingia kuona? Ni siku hii ndio siku yake ya mwisho ya kuambia Dennis kwaheri.
This is my immediate uncle and we loved him so much, and it's just unfortunate that all of us have been locked outside. We know that corona is there, but despite that we had a place where we would have gone.
Hali penye wameweka sio mzuri, wangeweka katika shule ili watu wote wapate kuhudhuria haya mazishi, lakini mipango sijui vile imebadilishwa. Kuanzia jana ilikuwa watafanyia shule, lakini kufika leo tunapata tena wameleta kwa boma ambayo compound ni kidogo na watu ni wengi ambao wanatakikana waingie.
The late Afande once served as the Kenyan ambassador to USA during the late President Daniel Moi's tenure. The coronavirus has made it difficult to say goodbye to the dead, with global burial rituals dramatically changing. But the angry mourners in Luanya, Busia County, though alive to the fact, refuse to oblige, accusing the organizers of letting them down.
Mfungiwa hata nyanya ako hapa, ankoso ako hapa, nashindwa leo hii ni matanga gani huko Luyani. Tunajua corona iko, lakini wangeweka mahali pamoja. Sisi tukuja tuoshe mikono yetu, tu sanitize, ndio. Alafu tuzingatie stress za COVID. Hizo hatujakataa. Lakini kila kitu tumezingatia, tumeweka mask, lakini bado tena wametukataza kuingia.
Busia is among the 13 counties listed as COVID-19 hotspots, where the COVID-19 measures were tightened so as to control the spread of the virus after the country recorded a surge in the number of new cases from the Nyanza and Western region. Sharon Baranga, TV 47.
To matters education, all students who sat for their 2020 KCSE examinations and missed on their degree choices will from today, that is the 22nd June 2021, have a chance to reapply. And this is according to the Chief Executive Officer of Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placement Service, that is Dr. Agnes Mercy Wahome. The application portal will be reopened to allow 32,718 candidates with C+ and above who missed out on their degree choices to apply. Over 10,000 candidates who scored a mean grade of C+ and above from the KCSE class of 2020 who did not submit any application are encouraged to take advantage of the opportunity and do so. The second revision exercise will close on the 5th July 2021. 142,540 candidates applied to public, private universities and TVET colleges. Now to the corridors of justice, and Chief Justice Martha Koome and the President of the Court of Appeal, that is Daniel Musinga, have posted new Court of Appeal judges to Mombasa, Kisumu and Nairobi, despite a court order barring the Judicial Service Commission from assigning duties to the 34 newly sworn judges until a case filed by a Nakuru doctor is heard and determined. Mwangi Maina with that report.
Ngoge Grace Mumbi, a judge of the Court of Appeal.
Chief Justice Martha Koome, together with Court of Appeal President Daniel Musinga, have effected changes at the Appellate Court by posting judges to counties of Kisumu, Mombasa and Nairobi, despite a court order barring them from doing so. Of the 7, Lady Justice Mumbi Ngoge and Francis Tuyot have been posted to Kisumu, while Lady Justices Pauline Nyamoya and Jessie Lesit will serve at the Mombasa Court of Appeal. The Court of Appeal in Mombasa and Kisumu were closed down in 2019 due to shortage of judges. The judges posted at the two courts will be sitting permanently. Judges Msaga Mbogoli, Helen Omondi and Imana Laibuta will be sitting in Nairobi. The appointment of the 7 brings to 20 the total number of judges at the Court of Appeal. Against a required threshold of 30, the deployment of the 7 comes despite High Court order barring the JSC from assigning any of the 34 judges new roles until a case filed by a Nakuru doctor is heard and determined. Dr. Magerege Kenyi moved to court challenging a move by President Uhuru Kenyatta of leaving behind 6 judges of the 41 nominated by the JSC. The posting also coincides with the BBI appeal hearing slated for Monday next week.
Judge of the Court of Appeal.
Other judges in the Court of Appeal include Asike Makandia, who will be heading the Criminal Division in Nairobi, Hannah Okwengo, who will be heading the Civil Division, and Mohamed Warsame, who will continue representing the Appeal Court at JSC. Kadhuri Mainoti has been appointed as Director in the Judiciary Training Institute in Nairobi, while Patrick Keage and Gatembu Cairo will be the presiding judges at the Kisumu and Mombasa courts, respectively. Justices Rosaline Ambuye, Wanjiru Karaja, Agnes Murgor, Fatuma Sichale, Jamila Mohammed and Sankale Olekantai will be serving in Nairobi. Mwangi Maina, TV47, Nairobi.
Well, thank you so much, Mwangi Maina, for that very report that closes that session. And we now get into looking at the details of what has been captured on the papers. We're expecting to have Eric Ragallo, political analyst, join us, Gloria Roba, youth policy analyst, joining us shortly. And we also have Evans Wafula, political analyst, who will be joining us virtually, as we also fingers to get a hold of Jimmy Kagoni. And so these are the people who will be joining us for this conversation this morning as we look at that anticipated merger between ODM and Jubilee, and then what would mean or what it would mean. But before we even delve into that, allow me to engage Wafula, who's already on standby, joining us virtually, so that he can help us look at what the papers detail, his view on some of these stories that have been captured, even as we continue. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How have you been since the last time we spoke, or the last time you were here? All right, karibu sana to the broadcast.
Thank you.
All right, so I don't know whether you'd be able to look at the papers. We have a couple of stories here that have been captured on the papers, and therefore, as I also make sure that I cast them up, I hope you can be able to see them. And here we are, the front page of the Daily Nation. We start with that. For once, members of parliament are as broke as us, or like us, running on empty. Legislatures say they have not been able to receive, or they have not received mileage allowances for the past about 2 months, pointing to a deepening problem at the Treasury. Remember also the conversation on CDF that also got them threatening of a scenario where they are going to scaffold the activities of the reading of the budget, which did not happen. But it appears like things are not so easy and rosy for them. And why we even consider them to be broke as we are is a question of, does it mean when these funds are disbursed to their dockets, then it would appear as though it helps them or it serves them as opposed to serving the purposes that it is expected to serve? Well, aside from the allowances that they get and mileage fees, I mean, we would expect that funding like that of CDF is money that is set to help the common mwananchi and not them.
I think one of the things we need to understand is that Kenyan legislatures are among the most highly paid in the continent and even across in the world. If you see what other members of parliament are getting in terms of their salaries, you will agree with me that our MPs get to way high above many people, even, for example, even the parliament in South Africa. But then, having said that, I think they are not as broke as I think the papers are trying to report. These are people who are engaged in many other businesses. I think there's no single legislature who is in that house because he's only there depending on his salary. I mean, they have used politics or their positions of privilege as members of parliament to be able to assert themselves in lucrative tenders. I mean, many of these MPs are in business. So I think the perception that they are broke because their allowances or mileages have not been paid, that's totally not right. I think members of parliament are among the richest people you can ever imagine in this country.
I'll play the devil's advocate and say that, well, this is just a rhetoric language. But then what does it bring to the fore? The fact that, well, they are allowed to get, or it is enshrined in law that they're supposed to get this mileage, they're supposed to get these allowances. And importantly, we should be having CDF at the level of the constituencies for the sake of the people, so that it works for the sake of the people. I mean, the fact that there's been a delay on the disbursement of all these funds that we're talking about, what does it mean about, I mean, what does it speak of Treasury, and what does it mean in terms of us realizing these developments that these fundings are supposed to go in and address?
I think to be very fair is that since we reported the first case of COVID in the country, both the social and economic conditions in the country have actually shifted. I think the ramifications of what we are seeing, even many people have lost jobs. So I think when we are reading or hearing about these cuts, when it comes to members of parliament, I don't even understand why it should be a big news. I think they should even forfeit their salaries. They should be able even to give even half of their salaries. I think the fact that this is going to be blown out of proportion, to be made to look like it's going to be something that Kenyans now need to read. In fact, headline doesn't really augur so well. I think we need to appreciate that some of these members of of Parliament, even I remember some had promised that they'll give away their salaries. I don't know whether they're still doing that. So when it comes to the CDF, for example, I think some of these monies that MPs receive in form of CDF, we also know, as a matter of fact, that a lot of it is misappropriated. So I think the fact that we are actually discussing it now doesn't really solve the solutions. I think, yes, we know the mileage that they have been getting depending on where a member of a legislature comes from, in terms of what he can be able to use in terms of traveling to the constituency. I think even some of them don't go back to the constituency until after a long time. They have offices here in Nairobi, they have their staff here, they have their liaison kind of offices across the country. A few of them actually, yes, work in the constituency, but they have representatives who work in their constituency offices. So I think it's really not very clear for me to read and understand that they're now broke. And again, to make it further, we're trying now again to say that, and you see the Salary and Remuneration Commission had already suggested initially, I think a couple of years ago, that the amount of money they receive should actually be reviewed so that they're able to receive something that is enough, because a lot of them also used to make fictitious claims. These are a matter of fact. I mean, this is Kenya, and we know that in this country, people try all means to get money. So I think these are the things that we really need to look at it instead of actually making it look like it's already getting into the headline. MPs are not broke. They are not broke like the normal mwananchi would say so. So when you say that they are broke like us, I really feel like it's misplaced.
All right, well, interesting times ahead, and we'll be looking to see then how, of course, they get to react to some of this and how that can be addressed. Away from it, we have 94,275 students who have gotten the degree courses they selected, and a story captured on page 10. I have also read that story to us this morning, and a window period or grace period that has been opened for the students who were not able to secure positions to reapply. A good move towards making our students or getting our students into school. And I mean, the incorporation of the likes of TVETs and the fact that the government has tried its level best to push, also some students into that direction. I mean, even encouraging the ones who performed best or performed good to also take advantage of the TVET institutions that are there. So in the placement aspects, they all have second chance to revise choices in line with their grades. A good thing, a good move. This has been open, but it appears that this time around the government was a little bit tight in this selection process.
I think I wouldn't say, they've really tried, I think, this time to be tight with this selection process. But I think what we need to do for sure is that we should not always concentrate on ensuring that we bring in many students into the universities. I think we need also to be able to understand the middle level, the polytechnics, for example, where these polytechnics can also be allowed to offer degrees. I mean, you see, it's very wrong to think that everybody must actually go into the university and do the courses they have applied for. I think the criteria at which that we apply as a country in terms of trying to place students based on specialization, our education should actually go towards that specialized kind of system, so that students are able to not only go to specialize or get knowledge in what they have read, but also to go beyond what they have read to be able to get knowledge in things that can also be able to assist them when they get out of the institutions, or whether it's university or polytechnic. But I think, I agree with you that this time they have been tight. They have been able to ensure that there are no people who get into university. You remember, there's a student I saw on TV one day who was saying that he missed university only because of one mark.
Yeah.
So this student should not actually be also left out. I think there should be a place where he can actually be placed and will still pursue a degree.
All right. Away from that, lots of abduction and people missing, and of course police still continues to look into the ex-soldier's deals, that is in probe of his disappearance. We're talking about security expert Mwenda Mbijiwe, who has been missing since the 12th of June, and this is quite a prominent figure in the country, and therefore the biggest question is, if such is the case, and like close to 2 weeks down, we've not been able to establish any detail of his disappearance, what more for the common mwananchi, and what really could be informing some of these cases of abductions that we see today, some of these cases of disappearance that we see today?
I think it's all, we can look at it in many levels, and I think it's a worrying situation. This level of enforced disappearances, whether they are pure criminality or based on or criminal activity, or whether they are, they're based on maybe politics or any other thing. These are something we need to investigate. I think the number at which we have seen people disappearing and others being found maybe killed, others disappearing without trace, this is actually should put our security apparatus at a higher alert. I think we need to seek some kind of enhanced enforcement of security to all Kenyans, so that we can be able to understand whether this is actually pure acts of criminality or whether there's something behind this disappearance. Look, we've been reading and watching other countries. Look at countries like Colombia, countries like Romania, where this kind of enforced disappearances are very common, and they are very much linked to criminal networks. So it's important for us to be able to investigate and find whether these enforced disappearances are linked to anything to do with criminality or it's beyond criminality. So we really need to actually take a seat and be able to interrogate and put our security apparatus at task, so that they are able to ensure that they have the main obligation of safeguarding lives and property and ensuring that the safety of every Kenyan is paramount, should actually be the thing that we really need to hold the government accountable on that.
All right. Well, I'm sorry, it's you that I'll have to get into this, so that at least we expound more on these key stories on the papers until we get a hold of the other guests. And we have officially received about 358,000 COVID-19 doses, and we are expecting 13 million by August doses to be delivered to all regional government stores, that is within 24 hours as of yesterday, as from yesterday, and about 10 million number of doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine that the government had placed on order for April, in April. And we are waiting to see then who's going to get, who's not going to get, and whether, of course, this will be administered to the people before they get to expire, and indeed whether the Kenyans are going to take advantage of the same. This at a point when the situation gets dire, that is in these 13 counties that we speak about, that had a review of the measures as set by the government. And that we still have individuals that, in a way are defiant of some of these measures that were set. What would you make of the coming in of these vaccines at a point when most of the Kenyans were crying foul, especially the ones who had gotten the first jab? There was that feeling or general feeling that maybe this is a delay at the side of government, and even once they were worried about getting the jab, and the fact that we still do not have Kenyans abiding by the set guidelines to tame COVID-19.
I think first we need to appreciate that this is not only a Kenyan problem. This is a global problem, and it's a regional problem, and is actually to this extent an African problem. I think you heard, we've been following reports that Africa is also trying to procure its own, to try to find ways of being able to procure these COVID vaccines, so that a good number of Africans can be able to get this vaccine. Also, you see, there was also the issue of patent issue, and then there's also the issue that Africa, maybe, and Nairobi University, I think, was mentioned, one of the center universities that might also have been considered to be able to produce this vaccine. So having said that, I think one of the things we need to appreciate is that we have not done much as is expected of us. You see, the number of people who have been vaccinated, the first batch of 1 million, some of it did not Even some people are still going for the second one, but they're not able to get. So it was not properly administered, because the sense should be that when you have 1 million vaccines, I think you need to be able to ensure that the people who get the first jab are able to get the second jab without you increasing the number of people who are going to get the first jab and not be able to access the second jab. So I think the strategy that was used there actually did not work. So I think this should be able to be covered by the 300 and something vaccine we have received, so that the number of people who have received the first one should be able to get the second jab, and ensure that only those who get who are the first timers, when we get these, are able to be covered again for the second one. So there's no need of getting 1 million vaccine and having maybe up to 5 million people getting the first jab and not being able to access the second one. So I think the government needs really to come up with a strategy to ensure that everybody who gets the first jab is able to get the second jab. That's one. But the other thing, I think, also the level of awareness that across the country has not also well been done. I think if you go to many areas, look now, remember Nairobi was almost the hotbed. But now look, if you look at the other counties, Bungoma, Kisumu, Busia, these are now becoming the counties that are, because when we had this problem in the beginning, remember Nairobi was actually the center, and we had at some time we were under curfew and under lockdown. And look, it's going out of Nairobi now. So I think we need to move towards those counties and enhance civic education, enhance awareness, so that people are able to understand that, look, I've just seen a clip that you showed earlier in your bulletin, where people were actually trying to force themselves into a funeral because they don't still understand that the risk level and the level of exposure when they attend these funerals. And you know, in rural settings, funerals are almost like taboo. People must attend. So I think we need to be able to raise awareness and ensure that the people, our folks who are in the rural areas, are able to understand that this disease is there, it is real, and it is actually claiming lives. So we need to actually get to that point. Instead of even at the level of preparedness in terms of hospitals and facilities, I think we need to educate the people more, so that we also, once they get this knowledge, we're able to reduce the number of people who will be flocking into the hospitals.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I do not know whether I'm at liberty to engage Gloria, Madam Eor. Yes, I am told that I am at liberty to engage Gloria Roba, Youth Policy Analyst, who joins us right now. Good to have you. Good morning. Morning to you. Karibu sana. Yes. And you come at a point where we've touched on a couple of stories on the matters of a newspaper, but then we have 2-3 more that are worth looking at, and therefore I'd love to engage you on the same. What do you want to talk about?
I actually want to say something about the vaccines.
Yes.
We saw a lot of media houses last night camping at the airport with the Danish ambassador to Kenya. Because of course they have donated a couple of vaccines, and you know, it was like this big occasion, and you know, wanted to cover it with the media. But I was just thinking to myself, do you know that Denmark actually banned the AstraZeneca vaccine? Yeah. And they made a very big deal about it. It's not only Denmark, a couple of Northern European countries banned that vaccine. And up till now, what Denmark did, and I think it's because they were looking for a way to dispose the vaccine, is that they said that, you know, they're not going to use it for the government drive. They're not going to use it as, basically they're not going to inject the same vaccine to their people, unless of course one or a few would like, and then they have the liberty to request for it. That shows you that they don't have that much confidence in that vaccine, because for their citizens, for the Danes, they're actually getting a different type of vaccine. The vaccination drive that Denmark is having is making sure that their citizens get the, you know, the most effective and safe vaccine. Yeah. And yet, that same government is actually now apparently donating, you know, all these jabs of that vaccine that they banned to Kenya. It was a bit unfortunate for me to see that we were celebrating and excited, and because just the mindset behind it. It's like, if I had a lot of expired flour, in my house, and I knew that it's not good for consumption, but then I give instructions to my workers that in the event those street children out there, ask for this flour, it's okay to give it to them. We'll donate it to them. That's the same that's my feeling towards that donation. I mean, I think if there is a country that is so interested in pushing to help Kenya to get to the safe zone through vaccines, I believe no citizen, actually no human being deserves the second-class kind of healthcare treatment. And I was just posing the question, like, why didn't they donate some of the vaccines that they are using for their drive, the vaccination drive in their country, that they feel safe with? Really? You understand? Yeah. And this is one of the things I think is unfortunate, because we as Africans have been we've been conditioned to think that, it's okay sometimes to just wacha tu tuchukue hiyo, right now we just need to vaccinate people. It doesn't matter with what vaccine.
But then you see, they were trying to meet the deficit, or address this deficit that comes along with the individuals that got the first batch, and therefore to us that then appeared as though it's something that came in handy.
For me, it just it just doesn't sit well that the same government came out strongly, the Danish government, against the AstraZeneca vaccine. They listed the reasons why they actually are going to ban it in their country. They listed and actually even sensitized their people who are abroad against taking the AstraZeneca vaccine. They have a lot of Danes in the diaspora, and they kept on sending the messages and telling them, this thing is not safe. Hold on until we get the safe vaccine for you. So I was just wondering why we would accept, if any other country that had not banned that vaccine would come out and say, what, we are using AstraZeneca, we have this surplus of this vaccine, can we donate? I kind of think maybe it wouldn't feel as it does. Because for me, I then asked myself, really, is it donations from Denmark, or is it disposals? Sure.
A classical example of what Dambisa Moyo writes, she speaks of a dead aid. Yes?
I just want to respond to my other panelists. I think we should not get into this pharmaceutical politics. You see, one of the things I think we need to be very clear is that this pandemic, research is still going on. There will be many vaccines. I mean, we will hear many vaccines coming from, whether it's India, whether it's going to come from Africa, whether it's going to come from the Nairobi University. But remember also the Kenyan government banned another vaccine that had actually gotten its way into the country, and it was banned. And I think quite a few number of Kenyans had used that vaccine, the Russian one, and it was banned. And Kenya said it does not fit. It does not fit our.
Is that what we said? The Poisons Board, the Poisons Board, cleared it, gave it a clean bill of health. The only concern, or the main concern, was the fact that it came into the country without the blessings of the procedures that are supposed to be taken. But again, it was approved by the.
And also, Kenya is not donating thousands of that vaccine that we banned to Somalia, for instance. Right? Okay. We are not banning it and in the same spirit donating it.
The same.
Yeah. That my point here is the idea that
and we should not look at this as donations. Per se. Look, this being a global effort to ensure that this pandemic is taken care of. I mean, whether it's from South America, West Africa, everywhere globally, any effort that is there to ensure. Because remember what the EU leaders, the G7 leaders said last week, is that if you even vaccinate the entire America or the entire Europe without helping Africa or developing countries, you will not have done anything to your country. Yeah. Whether Denmark has a better vaccine than the spot, not helping the world. It is a concerted effort across board to ensure that everybody is not left behind. Everybody gets this vaccine, and as research continues. Because if we say, for example, that this is a donation we're not going to take, anybody in Kenya who is a victim can actually, and it is mutating. And we are not very sure that whether what the Danish are using, they might use it again in the next few years or months, because this virus is mutating. So I think whatever is there is that we look at the level and look, for example, what is in India and what is in Kenya, for example, is that even AstraZeneca cannot work very well in India now because of the mutation of this virus. So I think what needs to happen is that we need, instead of leaving these drugs to get expired and then we cannot do anything, this research is still going on. So I think we need to raise our level of awareness to the extent whereby we know that even if it is Rwanda or whether Somali that needs actually a lot of, Kenya can also donate to Somali if they have excess. But I think the most important thing for us to ask ourselves, is this vaccine safe for Kenyans? Is it safe? Whether it's come in form of a donation. If it's safe for Kenyans, if it's been there, a lot of people have used it. I've not had any serious major concerns. But I think we need to ensure that we join the entire world to ensure that whatever efforts that are there, we are part of those efforts and ensure that we make our people safe.
Okay, convinced?
I'm not convinced. I will just say this. I think we need to get to a point as Kenyans that we practice citizenship, that we love this country, that we protect this country. Protecting this country means that you question certain things that are being done. It is just unfortunate that our government has let us down on the vaccine front, because Alela, I can tell you, if we were 2 steps ahead from where we are now, we would not be accepting vaccine donations from, let me call them disposals. We would not be accepting vaccine disposals from countries that have declared the same vaccine unsafe. And unfortunately, they say, what is it? Ukiomba, when you're a beggar is not a chooser. And the situation we are in now, to summarize it, we are beggars. And so therefore we don't choose. Whatever we get, we stand in the airport, celebrate about it, feature it in the media, even if it is poison, because we are beggars.
On a personal level, would you advise Kenyans, well, we are not in a capacity to do that. We neither do not expect to see lots of apathy in terms of, how Kenyans are taking this, but
Alela, I think the approach that I'm taking is because I have had the experience, unfortunately, of living in the Scandinavian countries, and I will tell you that Africans, we are used to direct racism. You black person, I don't want to sit next to you. But in these countries, they have institutionalized their discrimination, and they have created, even within their healthcare systems. And that is why, for me, this was a red flag. Because I can tell you that if any other, the way they are approaching it is, as long as we've not burnt it, we've burnt it in the previous months, but now because we needed to dispose of it, we opened the caveat to say that if there's any Danish citizen who would like it, all you have to do is just request for it. Although we have sensitized our people to understand this thing is not safe. So basically take it at your own risk. So for me, I see a lot of institutionalized discrimination in terms of the healthcare. And if anyone is sincerely wanting to help us, because we are beggars, at least they should have put out a statement that indeed we are not trying to dispose this what we think is poison to you. We are actually saying that this has been verified. It seems wrong for a country that is working so hard against the AstraZeneca to now donate the same.
All right. Well, maybe they would have said, we have this in the event that you wish to have them, then proceed and come.
It is a very subtle, it's like akufukuzaye akuambi toka. It's very subtle. It's very under the water kind of.
Yes.
Can I just make one remark? And I think we need actually to be very sensitive in this issue of the vaccine. Because we might make many people not go for the vaccine. We should not label it expired or dumped. I think and that's why I'm going back to the statement from the G7. And the US, for example, itself has committed itself to donate millions and millions of vaccine to developing countries. And Joe Biden, the president of the United States, came out clearly and said that they're going to donate millions. They're not going to dump. They are going to donate millions and millions of vaccines. So I think, and the civil societies in that those who attended lobbied and actually came out with a very powerful statement that the vaccines will not even be enough to cover the entire countries that need those vaccines. So I think these donations are going to come in as a flood. But the fact that we are sitting on a national TV and
I think we lost
very
it.
right.
All right,
I think what we need to do is that
yes.
we're in a situation.
You think the heavens are
We're in a
in favor
situation where people are
of
dying.
us losing? All right.
I'm
so
sorry.
beautiful
Let's
tweet
just
there.
agree.
All right,
Let's just agree to disagree. Yeah. Let's just agree.
We leave
to
this one at
disagree.
that. A very important story also before we look at the political aspect of it that has been captured on the front and then the back page of the Daily Nation. That is in regards to the reshuffle for the Court of Appeal judges. And the reshuffle is on. The very same individuals amid the reshuffle are likely to be the ones that will be handling the cases of BBI. Is there anything much that we need to say about the reshuffles that we see today? At a point when, again, the courts had declared, please do not proceed to do that until a case that was filed by an individual or a health practitioner, I believe, is heard. But then appears like the courts have to move in lightning speed. It's at the back page of it. What do you make of this? Again, the courts are in contempt of the courts. Gloria.
I haven't had a chance to delve into the story, but what I think is that there's been a lot of what you'd call impunity. Nowadays, it's like any orders from the court are just like any other thing that you can bypass or, And I feel as though it's a precedent that has been set by our president. And unfortunately, I think what's happening actually, just from a very brief perspective, is that we are preparing for 2022 general elections, and whoever feels they have the influence of this process is kind of trying to prepare the grounds for their preferred candidate. But I think let's wait and see how far they come with this. And I'd like to actually see the statement from LSK, or at least those involved in that industry, just to understand what are the dynamics around it. But for me, I would say a lot of the things that are happening between now and the next 6 months are really in preparation for the 2022 elections. In judiciary, in executive, wherever. It's really now it's about organizing your cards, because come 2022, you just never really know what's going to happen. You just never really know who's going to be on that seat, if there's going to be election petitions that are as crazy as the last annulled election. So it's for me, I read a lot of preparation for 2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I'd love to hear what you think about this, Wafula. The fact that, again, adjustments are supposed to be made anyway, after all. And, there's that declaration by the courts, or a court case that is ongoing. But then again, the same individuals are likely to be the individuals that are going to handle the BBI process, or the BBI petition that sits in the Court of Appeal as at now. What do you make of that?
I think, one, I'm not a lawyer, but one of the things that I think we need to agree is that in legal matters, there's the reading and the interpretation of the law. But there's been a very kind of pedestrian way of approach to our constitution in terms of how we read and understand our constitution. I think I've been having this argument with somebody before, is that does the president, for example, have a veto power? Like, can he, for example, decline to appoint or to put his signature on any appointment? And if that is the case, at what level does he violate the law when he uses his power is to veto any appointment and decide that I'm sending this back to Parliament, or I do not agree with this? So I think we need to stop hanging people by the rope. You see, what has happened is that politics, the judiciary is so deeply entrenched in our national politics. That's a fact, and that is where we are missing the point. So that these appointments, as much as you think the court has put a sanction on the appointments and try to restrain from the judiciary itself, from doing these new redeployments of the judges. I think it is also critical to understand that the judiciary itself has engaged in activism for a long time. And I can tell you is that whether we expect magic now is not something that I can be able to tell. But look, Gloria has just talked whether she has actually put a very good point, is that let's wait and hear what the LSK will say. That's becoming common in this country.
Okay.
Anything happens, then we will listen to what the LSK will say, then we will listen to what the political class will say.
Okay, well.
Then what happens to Kenyans? I think there's a very of approach to everything constitutional in this country.
Okay, we wait to see what culminates on that. This is an interesting story captured on the front page of the People Daily when Sonko hired 33 police guards. I think the conversation is on, and the Auditor General has taken up the matter. We're expecting that this again will be taken by the courts, as we will wait to see what they will declare. That is in regards to matters graft, even as the Ruto staff are testifying in Chesa Arms deal case. The conversation still on. I guess we drop much of these stories and look at the political stories that have been captured in the papers. A majority of them trigger the conversation that we have this morning, or form the basis of the conversation that we have this morning, that in regards to the formation of a likely formation of the new alliance outfit that will be there between Jubilee Party and ODM Party. Lots of conversations arise as to the same. The biggest question is the president part and parcel of Jubilee Party as much as the DP? Is he? They say, well, officially he declared the other day that he is in UDA, and I realize that is one of the stories that have been captured on the front page of the papers that pertains to the plans of the deputy president that is in his political bid. And well, just looking at it, the likes of Aisha Jumwa are also out there registering their interest for the gubernatorial position. And I mean, one would expect that she would be vying on the ticket, or the UDA ticket. At least for now, she is an ally of the deputy president. And so here we are. Ruto 2 is hunting in the NASA coalition. That is according to the Mombasa governor, that is Hassan Ali Johor. And the front page of the Standard newspaper speaks of Ruto allies, a planned mass walkout. Edged out of Jubilee, the DP has embraced UDA. Between now and December, he must assemble it into a formidable party, and eventually he will have to dump the ruling outfit as IEBC nominations calendar kicks in. What do you make of these political conversations that we are having right now? One, we look at the utterances of the DP over the weekend, acknowledging the fact that yes, chama ni hiyo kazi ni kazi, that is UDA. Officially, bare knuckles, and probably sending a message to President Uhuru Kenyatta after that declaration that they would have a merger, and he is likely to support a NASA candidate in the event that they remain united.
I wish you had the clip, because his utterances...
I think we should be having that clip.
Yeah,
we had it
because
yesterday.
His utterances, he asked the people, chama ya hustlers ni gani?
And then the people declared.
The people are the ones who declared.
Are you kidding me? Gloria, are we going to have that?
No, I'm literally just reporting what was there. He stood and asked them, sisi tunajua blah blah blah. Then he said, chama ya hustlers ni gani?
All right.
Not chama yangu ama chama ya nani ama ya Raila. He asked them, chama ya hustlers ni gani?
Ile chama itaenda 2022.
If you stand here and say, and ask, maziwa ya watoto ni gani? And watoto waseme ni
What are you trying to tell us, Gloria? Before you even expound that argument further, allow me to loop in Wafula. Do you agree with what it is that Gloria says, or do you somehow read what she's trying to say here?
I think Gloria has lived in this country and she understands our politicians, not only the politics. I think it's a fact. I mean, UDA is Ruto and Ruto is UDA. You cannot separate them. The only problem is that Ruto is the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. Then that puts him in a very interesting position when it comes to making what Gloria would attempt to say public declarations
Okay.
in terms of his political stand. So I think Ruto understands that he doesn't want to put the rope on his head now. I think if Ruto declares today that he has left Jubilee and he has joined UDA, you understand the political consequence. So I think he's a smart politician. He's playing smart. Over 90% of his allies are donning the yellow and black shirts and t-shirts. And they have made it clear that we are in UDA. So I think Maziwa Nia, when she's asked Maziwa Nia Nani,
straightforward. It is a straightforward.
No, I mean, we you know, sometimes we have to be very responsible, yeah? Me, I watched that clip and I was following and I was waiting for him to say, Niko UDA ni chama yangu. He didn't say any of those things. What he did, he asked the people, what do you resonate with?
And the excitement, body language, and the fact that he agreed with what the people said.
If I come here and I ask you, what do you resonate with? How is it feeling today? Where uniambie, mimi, I'm thinking.
What are you trying to tell us?
I'm trying to
what
say,
are you trying to say? That the DP is not...
No, I'm trying to say...
UDA just yet?
That I believe the DP actually subscribes to the Hustler Nation ideology.
Okay.
That ideology...
That was formed by him?
No, that was formed by the youth.
The Hustler themselves.
The youth, and then borrowed by him.
Okay.
You remember I keep saying this is the narrative. It was formed by us, the youth, and then it was borrowed by him because he resonates with it. I think what he's trying to say is, I subscribe to this ideology, yeah? And by the way, UDA is not the only party that subscribes to the Hustler Nation ideology. We have PDP, we have PEP, we have I think around 15 parties, yeah? And if he was to go, for instance, to Moses Kuria's backyard, you know, do you think he'll stand there and talk about UDA or PEP, or will he talk about hustlers? He'll talk about the hustlers. So that's what I'm trying to say. There's an ideology here that a lot of people subscribe to, that a lot of people are hoping will be in government come 2022. And at that moment, what William Ruto was doing was asking the people, do you subscribe to this ideology? If you do, I'm just asking you, chama ni gani? And it is the people who said, chama ni UDA.
Ile ya kazi ni kazi.
Yeah, kazi ni kazi. So, you know, those people have decided according to what they see. They are seeing UDA is doing this. They are seeing UDA is fronting women candidates in the
So these people came with a slogan? These people came with a...
No, these people are actually trying to say, no matter however way things go, as we are saying, we're in UDA because UDA supports our ideology.
What then is the president trying to say when he says he's going to endorse?
Before I go there, I want to ask, because we are always talking about the deputy president associating himself with a political party or some other thing. I don't understand why we don't give the same attention to our president. Our president has come out openly and even said that I am going to support a NASA candidate. Our president has come out openly and they shook hands with the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Not only did they leave it there for semantics, they went into the government coffers and took money and spent it towards bringing a unity between two political parties. Our president has actually pushed out the deputy president and opened the doors for the opposition leader. How come we are never sitting here and talking about, so now is our president or is he the opposition?
But that's exactly what I want to ask today.
You know what I mean?
That was my next question. What then does it speak of President Uhuru Kenyatta when he declares that he will support a NASA candidate if...
Not only what does he speak about his declaration of supporting, because I don't even take that seriously. He has supported so many people in such a short span of time that his endorsements are becoming a joke. What I would say is, in that same spirit, that any time William Ruto comes out with a hustler hat and we condemn him for not being a Jubilee diehard, we would like to understand what we are doing when we see Tuju and the likes of the leadership of Jubilee actually having serious sit-downs with ODM and basically saying, we are one. We would like to see who is going to expel Tuju. We would like to see who is going to call Tuju to a discipline.
All right, hold it right there. Let's also allow Wafula come in on this one as we expound some more on that conversation of the DP and his plans. Rigathi Gachagua says this: we will begin our mass walkout from Jubilee this December and January 2022. No one in Jubilee will purport to discipline anyone when you have the party leader supporting the opposition. Wafula.
You see, the master of this is Raila Odinga, the master of the political chessboard. They saw what Raila did in 2007.
Okay.
He led a mass walkout. I mean, I think they have realized that that's politics. I mean, that's politics for them. I think it's inevitable that 2022, we will go to 2022 with a totally different political formation. But I'm just reminding Gloria that in our political history is that there has been no single alliance that has walked into the next election intact.
Okay.
So at whatever point, it was quite obvious that Jubilee will not hold, NASA will not hold, because the way our political alliances are formed, they are only formed to take power. They are not formed to govern. So you see, other countries, coalitions are formed after elections.
Wafula, allow me to ask this. Is this a polite way of casting fear into the spines of Kenyans when we're speaking of the fact that, well, after all, Jubilee was bound to, die right after getting into power? Then we're looking at a scenario where Tuju declares that there could be likelihoods of a coalition between ODM and Jubilee Party. Then the question is, one, is this conversation of the BBI a conversation that was just geared towards a political benefit, contrary to what the key leaders spoke about, and they maintained it was an aspect or a vehicle to ensuring that we have peaceful coexistence as a people? And in the event then that ODM and Jubilee form a coalition and they march into presidency or they march into the general elections as an outfit, what then happens after that? Remember, their clarion call is that these two are coming together for the sake and the benefit of a peaceful coexistence in the nation. Are we going to be guaranteed of peace?
Our democracy is still like a democracy. We had a new constitutional order or a new constitutional dispensation. We're now talking about reforming our constitution. I think when you see, our democracy, I would not say young per se, but it's in a sort of a transition. And when a democracy is in a transition, if you ask students of politics, they will tell you that a lot of things happen, political alignments, constitutional reforms, and that is why I keep on reminding people that the quest for reforming our constitution under whatever, whether it's under BBI, is what we promised ourselves in 2010 constitution when we said that we have actually enacted 80% of our constitution, 20% still needs us to work on. So we need, it reminds us of that this constitution is not complete. And because we are in a democracy that is in transition, we are bound to work on our constitution as much as we work on our political maturity in terms of our politics. So I think what is happening is that political parties are actually emerging in form of alliances. This is the first time, I think the second election that we will go into, with the mere fact that you can never win any elective seat in the presidency without a coalition in this country. The times when a single party would actually come and win an election, those are times that are gone. And even William Ruto realizes that whether the Hustler Nation or the Hustler movement transforms itself into a political party in the form of UDA, it will still need other parties to get into an election to win an elective contest. So I think at the end of the day, whether Jubilee and ODM are forming a coalition, whether UDA will form a coalition with other party, that's what we expect. Whether UDA will go with One Kenya, Jubilee will go with ODM, this is what we expect. I don't think there's anything strange in what we are seeing. And I think we do not need to validate these politicians. I think this is where our politics is going. We are in a situation whereby even the deputy president with his level of quote-unquote popularity, he's so clear that he cannot win an election only under the banner of UDA.
And I think Gloria has acknowledged that and says, well, the hustler narrative, is a part, is a narrative that carries on board a couple of other parties, mentioned the likes of PEP and the likes. But then, what then would be a worrying factor, Gloria, is the aspect of, well, just how the political parties act, is incorporated in the formation of this. Sorry?
We are going to mislead people. I think UDA is a political party.
Yes.
As it stands. The Hustler Nation is sort of, my understanding, is a movement.
Mm-hmm.
And in this movement, you might have people, like-minded people from different parties. So to the level where they are going into an election, we should not purport to say that UDA is a coalition. UDA is not a coalition. UDA is a single party. So what we are going to witness and what we are waiting to see, whether this UDA will be a coalition that will not even have the name UDA. Like, for example, ODM, Ford Kenya, and Wiper and other parties came into a coalition that was called NASA.
Yeah.
So we are trying to wait and see that whether this movement, Hustler Nation, is the same movement that will emerge into the political contest in an alliance, constitute other parties, but not necessarily an Hustler party. But we want to understand what coalition will it be? What will it be called? What will it be? What will it look? What is its face? So I think in our politics, to be very honest, is that alliances, this is the time alliances are being formed. And I think even the deputy president understands that as much as he is assembling the Hustler Nation and the UDA party, he's going to reach other political parties. And they will, once they sit on the table, he will be told, what have you brought
on the table?
And then other parties will